In 1987, a film transformed everything, not just for action cinema, but for how Hollywood would envision its monsters, heroes, and impossible shoots moving forward. Predator wasn't meant to become a legend, yet here we are. Let's dive into the most iconic line from the film, "Get to the chopper." These four words weren't highlighted in any list of memorable quotes before filming began. The script didn't give them much significance, but Arnold Schwarzenegger delivered them with such visceral urgency, such raw intensity, that something remarkable happened in the editing room, and more importantly, in the parking lots after the premieres, where audiences couldn't stop repeating them. Director John McTiernan never intended to create a myth, he merely captured it. Now, let's uncover a disaster few are aware of. The original Predator, meant to instill fear worldwide, looked like a giant shrimp dressed as an insect. This unusual costume, bright red with beetle-like eyes and spindly limbs, was worn by none other than Jean-Claude Van Damme. Yes, that Jean-Claude Van Damme. The test footage was so embarrassing and deeply comedic that production was halted entirely. Days of shooting were lost, thousands of dollars in costumes went to waste, and the studio began to panic. Everything had to be redone. Enter a fortuitous coincidence at 30,000 feet. Stan Winston, a genius in special effects, found himself sitting next to James Cameron on a plane. Cameron, during sips of coffee, mentioned his long-standing desire to see a creature with mandibles. Winston pulled out a napkin and began sketching. In that moment, the articulated mandibles, dreadlock-like appendages, biomechanical armor, and reptilian skin were born. By the time they landed, the Predator as audiences would come to adore already existed on that crumpled piece of paper. A casual conversation between two filmmakers had sparked one of the most iconic creatures in cinematic history. So, why did Van Damme leave? It wasn't just the costume, it was about his contract. He had signed on believing he could showcase his signature high kicks and reveal his face, making his breakthrough. He was informed that he would be entirely invisible under the suit, without any screen credit, and not a single scene would show his face. After just 2 days, he deemed the role unsuitable and walked away. His departure paved the way for Kevin Peter Hall, towering at 2 meters 18, whose imposing stature would give the Predator a physicality Van Damme could never have provided. On set, the tropical heat depicted on screen was a complete illusion. Outdoor scenes were filmed early in the morning in Mexico when temperatures hovered near freezing. Between takes, Schwarzenegger, Carl Weathers, and the rest of the crew huddled under blankets, shivering. The film portrays a suffocating jungle, but the actors were actually battling the cold. Interestingly, Schwarzenegger himself underwent a dramatic physical transformation before filming, shedding 25 kilograms deliberately. After years of bodybuilding, he aimed to portray an elite soldier, functional, dangerous, and believable, not just a muscle-bound athlete. This choice made Dutch a relatable, vulnerable character, leaving a lasting impression. Number 7. The mud scene stands out as one of the most intense ever filmed. Notably, it nearly jeopardized Arnold's health. The substance used wasn't real mud, but a cold clay mixed with icy water, applied in thick layers over several nights. His body temperature dropped dangerously low between takes. In a misguided attempt to warm him up, the crew offered him a warm beverage, which only made things worse by dilating his blood vessels. Arnold shivered under the clay, suffering from mild hypothermia, yet he had to deliver one of the most intense performances of his career. When you see Dutch frantically smearing mud on his face, it's not just acting, it's a fight for survival. Number 8. Behind the scenes, a silent competition was brewing. Every morning at 4 o'clock, Arnold, Carl Weathers, Jesse Ventura, and the rest would head to the gym under the pretense of a routine physical interview. No one would admit it, but everyone knew it was an ongoing competition to see who had the biggest arms. The result? One of the most physically intimidating casts ever assembled on screen. Number 9. Ventura briefly thought he had the upper hand. The costume department told him that his biceps measured larger than Arnold's. He bragged about it to anyone who would listen. However, it was a tactic. Arnold had instructed the team to mislead Ventura, fully aware that his own arms were indeed bigger. He let Ventura bask in this imaginary victory, smiling quietly. The psychological games on set were as fierce as the action scenes. Number 10. The bright green blood of the predator, that unforgettable splatter with every impact, wasn't the result of a complex chemical concoction from a special effects lab. It was simply the liquid from glow sticks mixed with lubricant. The team broke open industrial glow sticks, extracted the liquid, adjusted its viscosity, and created one of science fiction's most iconic visual signatures, all with ingredients sourced from any pharmacy. Number 11. The Predator's thermal vision, that orange and red hue tracking soldiers through the foliage, wasn't captured using real infrared cameras. The technology existed, but the image quality was inadequate for film. Instead, the team painstakingly painted the effect frame by frame in post-production, strategically placing heat sources on set to enhance the effect. What appears to be advanced alien technology is actually a labor-intensive craft done by hand. Number 12. The Predator's guttural clicks, which heighten the tension with each appearance, have a surprising origin. Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime, created the deep sounds by mimicking animal breaths in a recording booth. The sound team then layered dolphin clicks to add an organic, extraterrestrial dimension. Alongside this, the sounds of crustaceans snapping their claws underwater create a dry, unsettling crackle that heightens every moment of suspense. Weeks of experimentation went into layering sounds and varying speeds to create a language that feels both alive and mechanical, intelligent and predatory. This remarkable sound design has origins that few would have anticipated. Moving on to number 13, the actor portraying Hawkins, known for his string of bad jokes, is none other than Shane Black, the screenwriter who had just penned Lethal Weapon. His presence on set wasn't purely artistic. The studio was anxious about the dialogue and needed a writer on standby for immediate rewrites without halting production. The solution? Grant him a small acting role so he could be there every day, observing scenes, rewriting lines between takes, and performing his true job incognito. Shane Black played Hawkins on camera while rewriting Arnold's lines off-screen. Many of the film's most memorable exchanges are credited to him, even though his name is absent from the credits. Number 14 highlights Billy's death, one of the most impactful moments in the film, precisely because it occurs off-screen, a scream followed by silence. Yet a complete version was filmed, featuring an extended hand-to-hand combat sequence where Billy battles the Predator with his knife, enduring punishing blows. The crew dedicated an entire day to this scene. However, when the producers reviewed it in the editing room, they decided to cut it. The rationale was straightforward, showing a human holding their ground against an ostensibly unbeatable creature undermined the threat built throughout the film. The silent scream proved to be far more terrifying than any fight choreography. The absence of visuals is more frightening than their presence. Now, number 15 brings us to Sonny Landham, who played Billy and had a unique stipulation on set. The insurance company mandated that a bodyguard accompany him at all times, not for his protection, but to safeguard others from him. His unpredictable behavior and potential for aggression convinced insurers to cover the film only under this condition. The bodyguard followed Landham everywhere, whether on set, at the hotel, or during downtime, with the sole mission of intervening before tensions escalated. This is one of the most unusual insurance clauses in Hollywood history, and it worked effectively. At number 16, we have the oppressive jungle backdrop that appears to stretch endlessly in every direction, yet it was contained within just a few acres. The cinematographer often filmed close to the ground to obscure the actual boundaries of the set. With tight angles, precise editing, and clever perspective management, a few acres of Mexican forest transformed into seemingly boundless wilderness. Pulling the camera back by just a meter would shatter that illusion. Lastly, number 17 sheds light on Kevin Peter Hall, who donned a suit weighing over 90 kilograms. With nearly no ventilation, limited visibility, and restricted movement, he faced the challenge of fighting, running, and performing stunts while carrying the weight of two individuals in a suit that felt like it was cooking him from the inside out. Between takes, crew members had to physically assist him in removing the suit to prevent overheating. What you see on screen isn't just performance, it's sheer endurance. Number 18. The Predator's camouflage effect, that spectral shimmer making it nearly invisible, was based on a deceptively simple technique. During filming, Hall wore a bright red suit. In post-production, that color was systematically removed frame by frame and replaced with entirely analog optical distortions without the aid of modern CGI. The outcome was so convincing that filmmakers are still studying it today, 4 decades later. Number 19. At the end of the film, when the rescue helicopter finally arrives, pay attention to the pilot. That's Kevin Peter Hall, showing his face for the only time in the film. It's a subtle, nearly secret cameo, a nod for the observant viewer. Hall sadly passed away in 1991 at just 35 years old. This brief shot is all that remains of him off costume. He gifted us one of cinema's great monsters and left us far too soon. When Predator premiered for its test audiences, the reaction was lukewarm. The studio braced itself for disaster, but then word of mouth began to spread. Viewers left the theaters unable to stop talking about it. The creature's reveal, the climactic showdown, the unyielding tension. The film ultimately grossed nearly $98 million worldwide, equivalent to nearly $260 million today. Not due to critics, but because audiences turned to their friends as they exited, insisting, "You have to see this." Predator is a masterclass in cinema disguised as a genre film. Every disaster turned into an artistic choice. Every mishap became iconic. The initially unusual costume morphed into a masterpiece crafted by Winston. The bitter cold added authenticity to every weary gaze. Arnold's real suffering under the freezing mud birthed the film's most memorable scene. What could have been a series of blunders transformed into a work that stands the test of time. If you're eager to delve deeper into the behind-the-scenes stories of films that shaped history, uncovering secrets seldom shared, the accidents that became legends, and the frantic decisions that changed everything, subscribe to Mysteries of the Spirit. Join a community that views cinema through a different lens. Because behind every great film lies an even wilder story than what meets the eye.